Once upon a time in the great village of Ghana, there lived a chief named Nana Kofi. There was a great famine on his land, which made all his people to starve for days. Although Nana Kofi was richer than any chief before him, but there was one tiny problem. His stomach was as greedy as his heart. He loved food more than anything and made sure his palace was always filled with the finest dishes. But the more he ate, the more he wanted. One day, while sitting on his golden throne, fanning himself with a peacock feather, a mysterious traveler arrived. This traveler was no ordinary man. His face was hidden by a hood, and his voice was as deep as a talking drum. "I have a gift for you, great chief," the traveler said, holding out a beautifully carved drum, covered in golden patterns that shimmered under the sun. "This is no ordinary drum. It has great power. If you beat it once, a feast will appear before you." Nana Kofi's eyes sparkled like gold coins. A drum that made food appear. This was a dream come true. Without asking any more questions, he snatched the drum and dismissed the traveler with a wave of his hand. That night, when the palace was silent, Chief Kofi gently tapped the drum. And just like magic, poof, mountains of delicious food appeared. Fried plantains, juicy roasted meats, steaming jollof rice, golden yams, and fresh palm wine filled the room. "Ha! This is the best gift ever." The chief laughed as he stuffed his mouth. From that night on, he played the drum every evening, filling the palace with food while his people in the village barely had enough to eat. But the magic drum had a secret, one that Nana Kofi was too greedy to ask about. And soon the drum decided to teach him a lesson. One fateful night, Nana Kofi beat the drum as usual, expecting his royal feast. But instead of food, a thick black mist rose from the drum. "Eh? What's this?" he muttered. Then he heard it, a strange buzzing sound. Before he could react, thousands of angry red ants erupted from the drum. They swarmed over him, biting his arms, legs, and belly. "Why, help me!" He screamed, running wildly through the palace, slapping at the ants. The guards and servants saw him and burst into laughter. The once mighty chief was now hopping like a frog, rolling on the floor in his royal robes. The ants chased him right out of the palace, past the village square, and straight into the river. Splash! He jumped in, hoping the water would wash them away. The villagers who had gathered to watch were crying with laughter. "Ah, so the great Nana Kofi can dance like this," someone joked. "Maybe the ants are teaching him a new royal dance." Soaked and humiliated, Nana Kofi dragged himself out of the water. He knew there was only one person who could help him, Nana Ama, the wise old woman of the village. The next morning, the chief, now covered in red bites, knelt before Nana Ama, something he had never done before. "Nana, I have made a mistake," he admitted. "I was greedy, and now the drum has cursed me. Please, tell me how to fix this." Nana Ama, who had warned him before, simply nodded. The drum was never meant for one person. It was meant for all. If you want to break the curse, you must use it to feed everyone, not just yourself. Nana Kofi sighed. He knew she was right. So, for the first time, he called the villagers to the palace. That evening, instead of locking himself in his chamber, Nana Kofi brought the drum to the village square. He looked at the people, many of whom had gone hungry while they feasted. Then, with a deep breath, he beat the drum. Boom. To everyone's amazement, this time the drum did not release ants. It filled the square with plenty of food for everyone. Women clapped, children cheered, and even the elders nodded in approval. For the first time, Nana Kofi ate with his people, laughing, sharing stories, and enjoying the meal together. From that day on, the magic drum was placed in the center of the village, where anyone who was hungry could beat it. And as for Nana Kofi, he had learned a great lesson. True wealth is not in how much you have, but in how much you share. I hope you enjoyed this short story. Subscribe and comment your moral lesson from it.